Ryan Jarrell here for MMA News, and it's a pleasure to have my next guest on the program. It's the Reaper, Robert Whittaker, who will be back in action February the 17th at UFC 298 when he takes on Paulo Costa in the co-main event. Rob, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm good. Nice to talk to you again. And I understand you're already in California. You've been here for a little while now. Had some, pre-fight media obligations and whatnot, and now you're at King's MMA, finishing up camp with Benil Dariush and the guys. How is that going for you so far?
Yeah, it's going great, mate. We usually come a little bit early, like 10 days ish, to climatize, get over the jet lag, and build a base of operations before the big day. And I was luckily enough blessed for Benny to offer us his gym and the space and the mat C. He's been very accommodating to us. He actually came in yesterday, and we managed to get some rolls in, a bit of work as well. So everything's just flowing really well. Got a base of operations here. I'm just, coasting into the fight week.
And I understand you're coming into this fight a little bit heavier. That was by plan here of you and your team. What's the weight at right now?
Um, 200 somewhere around there. It's hard to say because it's in pounds. I don't understand pounds too much. um, but no, yeah, the idea was to fuel myself a little bit more. I think in especially last camp, I may have pulled the pulled the plug a little bit too early on the calories, and it made me feel a little bit lethargic coming into fight week. So to have a little bit more calories, get some more sessions out, feel stronger, keep the muscle a little bit more on. Yeah, I feel great.
Are you going to be able to go out and have some nice food while you're in California? Are you planning to go anywhere on the coast?
Definitely not before the fight. Afterwards, though, I'm definitely looking for some good burgers or something.
Mhm.
I don't know, but honestly, though, I more or less I fight and then fly straight back home. I can't
Okay.
leave my wife with all those kids for too long.
Fair enough. Yeah, I used to live in Southern California, so I was going to suggest Duke's. I think there's one in Huntington Beach, which is close to where you're at, but I worked at the one in Malibu, and they got a lot of good food. And I mean, obviously during weight cut week, you got to keep the weight on point. But I don't know, you probably could get something good where you wouldn't be deviating from your plan.
Yeah, after the fight, I'll keep that in mind, Dukes.
Okay. Fair enough. You mentioned, the family back home. You had your fifth child recently. Congratulations, first off. How difficult is that just being away from, your family with a newborn?
Yeah, it's well, I think it's more difficult for my wife who was left there with the newborn, right? But like I'm fine. It's she's got the short end of the stick. But no, it's been good. It's a blessing, and everything went really well. Everybody's healthy, and yeah, I couldn't be luckier.
Yeah, I mean, five kids. My goodness, my wife and I are trying for our first. I mean, it must be so much love at the Whitaker household when you're at home in your normal routine.
That's exactly it. There's just a lot of love and there's a lot of life. So the kids, they're all best friends with each other. They're always playing around. There's always something to do for them. It's yeah, we've got a little community there.
Fantastic. Do they a lot of them get into MMA, or are they starting to get to that age where they might think about it?
Yeah, they all train at my gym. So they all do jujitsu and wrestling and kids MMA. And they have their days where they love it and they have their days where they don't. They're picking it up slowly. So out of five kids, I should have at least one of them that, that finds a passion for it, that wants to, do their thing, that I can pass all my skills on to.
Any other sports that are big for any of them right now, or is it
Yeah, well, last year I should say they did soccer. They
mhm.
enjoyed that. They've dabbled with dancing as well, and they've done some gymnastics. Very little gymnastics, but I let them kind of roam wherever they want to. If they feel like doing a particular sport, we try to make it work. If we can get the logistics of driving all the kids around all around Sydney, but yeah, you know, this year I think they want to get back into soccer. They're always going to do MMA. I think martial arts is massive for kids, especially for discipline. But yeah,
I grew up as a big basketball fan. Do you like basketball? Do you follow the NBA at all?
I like basketball. I don't follow the NBA very much though. Like I don't. It's not as big in Australia as it is here for sure. And to be honest, I was just never any good at it.
Well, you're pretty darn good at MMA, so you're doing that right. I did have a suggestion for you, and I wanted to see what you thought. Maybe something that you could rock around during fight week. But February 17th is not only just this big, huge UFC pay-per-view, but it's also the GOAT, Michael Jordan's birthday. Obviously, anyone that follows your sports in general can at least appreciate, his greatness in his sport. You ever consider maybe throwing on a red Michael Jordan jersey and wearing it around fight week, showing the guns off?
um, No, I didn't. I didn't even know it was his birthday until, until just now. And honestly, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It seems fake if I were to do it,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm not I don't follow basketball that much. I only knew of his birthday now since you
Okay.
since you told me. So I feel like to wear the shirt wouldn't be real.
Okay, understood. Well, you're definitely a very real guy, and I think that's why a lot of the fans really support you and appreciate what you do inside and outside of the cage. Let's transition to the middleweight division here, shall we? Dricus du Plessis beats Sean Strickland here to win the title, and you've talked in a lot of interviews. You felt like the right guy won, like he deserved to win. But did the fight play out the way you thought it would?
Yeah, well, one of it played out like one of my predictions. Okay, I had two. One was that Strickland would keep him at the end of the jab and just kind of pitter patter him and just beat him down over the 5 rounds, win by decision probably. Or Dricus was going to be just awkward as hell and make it a really ugly fight for Sean. And honestly, that's kind of what played out.
Yeah, and I got to be honest with you, Rob. I do the commentary for a regional promotion here where I live, and I raced back to the hotel after I was done the night because I was doing the commentary the same night where you fought Dricus, and I didn't think he was going to beat you, my man. I thought for sure you were going to win that fight, and was it just an off night? Is there something that you can look back and point towards? Do mixed martial artists have off nights like other athletes?
Oh, definitely, definitely. And to have an off night on the night you're fighting is probably every fighter's bad dream, right? Hindsight's 2020. There's a lot of things I looked at after the fight and wanted to correct or would have done differently, and I feel like I've done and made changes based on that for this fight and this camp. But it is what it is. Regardless of anything, Drick has turned up, and it was his night.
Would you say he's the most awkward fighter to compete against in the middleweight division right now?
Oh, he is awkward. Yeah, maybe.
And I know right now you're focused completely on Costa, but your eyes have to be on recapturing the title. If that wasn't a thing, right? Let's just pretend this make believe world for a second here. Who would you want to get the rematch with more, Izzy or Dricus?
I want to get the rematch of Dricus just because like that's obviously the sore wounds, like the most recent loss. But yeah, honestly, I haven't really thought about it too much. Like the overreaching goal of my career is to get the belt back and to retire at the top of the food chain. But my focus, my sole focus right now is just getting in there and hurting Costa.
And I know, Rob, you're a really humble guy, but I think the normal fan that follows the sport really closely, if you look at the middleweights that have competed, not just in the UFC, but just all time, I think you're right there in that top three right now. You got the Spider, you got Izzy, and yourself. Is that something that you're constantly chasing? By the time you're done, do you want to be considered the greatest middleweight of all time?
Oh, certainly. That's and I feel like reclaiming the belt will help me cement that legacy. But that is my goal. There isn't anything I do in life where I don't try to be the best at. And I'm only 33. I'm coming into my prime right now. I got the experience behind me, and yeah, I want to live up to that.
That second fight without Asanya, 3 rounds to 2, you felt you won?
I felt I won, but you know, it is what it is.
How difficult was that? Because obviously the first fight, just didn't go your way, and a very, very close fight the second time around. What was that like mentally to bounce back from a really disappointing judging decision?
It is what it is. The saying like "don't leave it to the judges" is there for a reason, and I stand by that saying as well. So it is what it is. You leave it to decision. You kind of always, yeah, it's out of your hands.
Sean Strickland has become a very popular fighter over the last year or so. What are your thoughts on his style, and is that someone that ultimately you're expecting to see down the line?
So yeah, definitely. He's a really good middleweight fighter. He's previous champ now, so he's there. He's amongst the mix at the top of the food chain. I always look for the best fights. So, my sole focus is on Costa at the moment, but I'm sure our paths will cross at some point.
And I wanted to talk about another subject here real quickly. Your performance against Marvin Vettori was amazing. It was vintage Robert Whittaker. He's got a fight around the corner against Brendan Allen. Analyze that fight for me. That's an important fight here in the top of the middleweight division.
Yeah, that's an interesting fight because I think Brendan Allen he certainly has a skill set to try and just keep him at distance, use his kicks and range to try and control the fight that way. But Marvin's another one of those guys that can be quite awkward, that looks to turn fights quite dogged and ugly. And yeah, again, it's one of those could go either way based on on that.
I don't know how much attention you pay to what goes on social media, but Brendan's been calling you out. He's been wanting to get in there and test himself against you. Have you seen that? And how would you like that matchup?
Uh, Mate, it's as much as any other matchup. I like fighting. I like fighting hard fights. So I'm focusing on Costa right now, but I'm sure, mate, we're middleweights. We'll cross paths. He's just got to keep doing his thing and working his way up the ladder.
Right now, Costa's number 6, Brendan's number 7. Costa, has pulled out before. Would it make sense for Brendan to be the replacement if, God forbid, that happens leading up to 298?
Honestly, not thinking about it. It's not something I could. I have the energy to spare thinking about.
You've been such a professional inside and outside of the cage. What is the mentality that you have, going in here as a fighter for the young fans that are out there, just the way you conduct yourself? Is there a certain mindset that you have day in and day out?
Oh, certainly. It's about leading by example. So there's a lot of spotlight on me. I have a lot of people that look after me. There are a lot of people that watch me on TV, on the fights, on the interviews. So the way I conduct myself is how I want to portray myself into the world. It's I don't I don't try to be anything I wouldn't want to see come back to me. I wouldn't want to be any. I don't want to show anything that I don't want to release into the world. Right. So I want people who look up to me to be good people. I want them to be stand-up people. I want them to have respect and honor and just be good people. And the only way you can impact the world like that is by using the spotlight you're given to set a good example.
You're doing a good job of that. There's no doubt. And obviously, I mentioned the Reaper. You've got the gear out there. You've had that nickname for quite some time, but you used to be Bobby Knuckles. Is that still a thing? Do people still call you Bobby Knuckles?
Yeah, definitely. Bobby Knuckles was never a name I picked. It's like a fan name. It's the name that the people picked. So it's a cool name. It's a cool name. I like it. It's around still for sure.
Okay. Yeah. I actually liked Bobby Knuckles even more than the Reaper for you because the Reaper's scary. It sounds like a terrifying, thing, right? And you just seem like a nice guy. I feel like Bobby Knuckles fits your personality.
Yeah, but I can be scary, mate.
Well, inside of the cage, right? I'm just saying like outside of the cage, but Bobby Knuckles, I don't know. It just seems like it fits.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It is more. I don't know. It's more of a nickname.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about 298, shall we? Main event, Alexander Volkanovski's taking on Ilya Topuria. Man, I can't wait for this fight. Volkanovski, for my money, the best 145er we've ever seen. And Topuria looks like the new breed, man. What do you think stylistically we're gonna see here in this matchup?
Oh, it's hard to say. I, Mate, I agree with you. I think Volk's the best featherweight we've ever seen. I think he's the best to do it. And I do believe Topuria is good. And I think this is the test that'll really either cement how good he is. Um, yeah, what's going to happen? Very hard to say. Very hard to say. Like if we get vintage Volk, he's hard to beat. I can't picture a fighter. I can't create a fighter in my head that beats Volk. Volk at featherweight is just, he's an animal.
For the people that are picking Topuria, well, one of the things that I've heard is that Volk's coming back too soon after that knockout loss to Islam. What are your thoughts on that? Obviously, you've been in there, you've been finished before. Like, do you feel like you need to wait a certain amount of time before you come back at 100%, or has this not been that for Volkanovski?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not like that's out of my forte. But one thing I do know is that anybody's going to be able to shake that off, it's going to be Volk.
Do you think he finishes him?
Mate, he's finished a lot of his fights. I can. Toporia's a tough dude. He's tough, young, hungry stud. Mate, it's too hard to say. Too hard to say.
Yeah, I'm staying away from this one as far as the betting aspect goes. I feel like it could go either way, but my heart and my head are telling me Volk here. Morad and Cejudo also on the main card. Really interesting bantamweight bout. Just give me your analysis real quick on that one, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm interested in how Morad looks, because he's a bit of a boogeyman in the division as well. He's a great fighter. Cejudo, though, one of the best to do it. Very hard. Very hard. I can see much like, oh mate, so hard. That's a real tricky one. I think Cejudo looks better lighter, if I'm going to be honest. That's not to say that he didn't look good in his last fight. I think he just has more of an edge and more of an advantage as a lighter guy. So I would have to favor Morad, maybe.
That makes sense. Some intriguing bantamweight bout, no doubt. Let's talk about your opponent, Paulo Costa. Guy's got 11 TKO, KO victories. We know how much power he has, but he hasn't fought since the Rockhold fight, which was like in August of 2022. So it's been a while. Do you believe in cage rust? Do you think he's going to be rusty when the bright lights come on?
I definitely think there's like some aspect of cage rust that is real. Just being out of the competition spotlight for so long can, you're not used to the nerves, the pressures, the back room. It does, like, it is there. It is something. How much that affects you is, different to person. Like, there's been heaps of times I've fought with big legs, like a year, 8 months. Even this fight is like 7 months or something like that since the last one. So yeah, there's definitely something there, like scientifically to point and give you numbers, mate, who knows?
How important will it be to close the distance and not fight on the outside against Costa?
Hard to say. I think more importantly, it's just not to let him have his way. Don't let him get steam. Don't let him build momentum and bully you, because I think he's a bully fighter. I think he's the type of fighter that if you let him do what he wants, he's going to be a hard challenge. But I think if you take the fight to him, keep him off balance, keep him on the wrong foot, it'll be a very different night.
I mean, I know this is mixed martial arts, but in this particular matchup, do you feel like your wrestling and just mixing things up is going to be the difference here?
I think my speed, my accuracy, my wrestling, my skill sets, I do believe that I'm better across the board, and I think I'm looking to hurt him. I've got 15 minutes to get in there, and I'm gonna look to switch him off.
What's your official prediction?
I'm gonna knock him out.
All right. Will you be disappointed if you don't knock him out?
Yeah, I will. This whole camp, I've been just focusing on finishing this guy, and the objective isn't winning. The objective is to hurt him.
And as far as moving forward here in 2024, does a win, is a finish over Costa, do you think that gets you the next title shot?
I'll worry about that after I beat Costa.
All right. Well, Rob, again, I appreciate the time, my man. Look forward to watching it February 17th, UFC 298. The Reaper, Robert Whittaker, steps back in against Paulo Costa. Thank you. If there's anything you want to plug, anyone you want to thank before we sign off, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. And thanks to all my fans. Make sure you stay tuned.